It's a pleasure to be with you here this morning, and I want to make it clear that I'm here not just in my personal capacity but on behalf of my organisation, the Irish Congress of Trade Unions, together with my colleagues Eamon Devine and David Joyce, Senator Joe O'Toole and Anne Speed from our Executive Council to demonstrate as best we can our quite strong support for this initiative. You know, I think that there's almost a natural reluctance on the part of men at times to speak out on a subject like this, because it's very difficult to be seen to be attempting to occupy the high moral ground on any subject in Ireland these days. But nevertheless, I think we must, you see, because the scale of the problem is so great, and I certainly don't want to, you know, repeat everything that my colleagues have said already. But if you think about it, I mean, right across Europe, it's estimated, I think, that about 500,000 women are estimated to be involved in trafficking at any one time. And here in our own country, at least 1,000 in any one day are involved in the activity of providing prostitution services. And many of those people suffer greatly as a result of that, from illnesses and infections and various things of this type. And 90% of those people, on average, I think it's somewhere between, you know, something like 87 and 98%, but we say on average 90% of people are migrant women. And I think many of them are lured into this activity. Possibly, you know, you've heard, I'm sure many of you, the stories about this, that people are offered a position, a career position here now, good quality work, and they find that that's not the case, and they get themselves very quickly trapped in a situation where their passport is taken away, and they don't have the opportunity. They're in a strange country, they don't have any money, they don't know anybody at all, and they can find it very difficult to get out of that situation. And it's hard, you know, we find it hard probably to conceptualize that people get trapped like that, but I think really in life there's a very thin line between being safe and secure and being extremely vulnerable in a situation that you never expected to find yourself in. And when you boil it all down, it really is a kind of a modern sort of slavery, basically. And what makes it more horrible in a way is that it's sitting parallel with a modern civilized society in the western part of the world. It's hard to feel that at any one time when we consider ourselves safe and secure, that so many people are in this situation. You know, I suspect that in this debate, you know, various libertarian arguments will be deployed about it. That's all very well from an intellectual point of view. But it seems to me really that in dealing with this issue, you have two options essentially. One is to legalise prostitution and to regulate it, or alternatively to try to stamp it out altogether. And there's one interesting statistic about legalising it, that in the city of Amsterdam, where it is legalised, there are about 750,000 citizens and about 20,000 people are involved in prostitution. In Stockholm, by contrast, which comes under the Swedish model that is, you know, at the cornerstone of the initiative today, there are about 1.3 million and only 200 people involved in prostitution. And really, I think that supply-side solutions like legalising it don't really work that well, because the point is made somewhere, I think, that, you know, where it is regulated, you know, as best that it can be, panic buttons and that are provided for people. But that in itself, in rooms, is a recognition of how dangerous the activity is and how potentially violent it happens to be. And I remember years ago, I did a bit of work for Concern in Bangladesh, where there was a fairly extensive commercial sex trade. And it was deemed to be pragmatic to try to protect the people involved, to offer them, you know, to try to get their, for want of a better description, employment conditions improved and to get them some security. But we found it almost impossible, no matter what you did, to prevent people from being exploited. Such is the nature of the activity involved. So in that sense, I think the model which was adopted first of all in Sweden and extended to Norway and Iceland is the more progressive way of dealing with what is in essence a human rights problem at an international level. And as in so many things, the Nordic countries have led the way in doing what is right, and we would do very well, I think, to seek to emulate that experience. If you find something working well elsewhere, well then the sensible thing is to see if you can take it and adopt it for a society that we live in. But the most important thing is to, I think, get the message across to people that this is existing, as it were, in parallel with our it is a parallel universe, you know, together with our normal civilized society. And, you know, as Theo, I think, said, anybody who's a family person thinking of the possibility that their daughter could somehow or other be lured into this and be trapped in it is a most terrible thought to entertain. And so we have to speak out and try to prevent it in any way we can. Thank you very much.